Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm really pleased that we have about 2 days, working days, before the new term, which is next Monday, will start our orientation week. So I think that this is crucial for us to get ourselves ready and prepared in terms of how we, the sets of philosophy and ways we would instill value into our daily interaction with our students. Okay, so I will start. So today we do have some goal to achieve. So our learning goal for today is so that we understand the set of tools and resources being created for you to use in your classroom and outside of classrooms as well in teaching students explicitly about behavior expectations. And secondly, that we will work together as a team as well, because I would like you to make some contributions as well in our poster design and have a review as well. And then we'll be doing some role play after the training. And then so each one of you will come up with a role play with a scenario that you would have some confrontation or situation that you have experience with a student. And then this new set of vocabulary or ways of addressing that behavior from a PB4L perspective. Okay. All right. So these are our goals. And so I'll firstly start from our presentation. So this design is confirmed from Kiki with Pastor Wang. So he likes this the color scheme of khaki, right? Khaki and just this color scheme. So this is, you can use this template for your classroom presentation as a template or any other templates. So it's also being uploaded on Canva as well if you want to have that background and everything. It's our shared Canva. So this is the set of slides that's being prepared. You can use in your year level orientation to your students if you like to use that set of consistency, so that we have consistency across all different levels and year levels. All right, so the Bambujaya philosophy, rooted in Christ, growing in character and serving others. So that is, and the foundational IOU principle is because I belong to God and my life is not lived only for myself, and I have a responsibility to God and to others. So that is interpretation of our principle. So God has given each person gifts, abilities, opportunities, and resources. Therefore, we are called to use what we have received to serve others and to be a blessing to others. So the 5 steps is, firstly, I belong to God. So we do have an important role to help students to realize that they belong to God as well. We all recognize ourselves, we belong to God, but some of them may not. So that is identity, where they belong and who they belong to. So secondly, receive from God. And once that's been realized, they will be able to receive more blessings and for example, generosity, kindness, and being able to serve others and all that from their ability to receive God. Because if they can't receive God, they can't really give to others. Okay, and thirdly, responsible to God. Then when they have established that identity with God, then they're able to find themselves responsible to God's commandments and what God asks them to do as well. And then therefore they'll be able to serve others and become a blessing. So this is a gradually step-to-step approach. So when we have encounter with students, we would be able to, some of the students may be already doing this, step 4 or 5, okay? And some of them maybe just at the step 1, I belong to God. So as a teacher, you will use your interactions, and in your spiritual encounter, I would, in your class, usually I suppose you would start with a bit of morning devotion if you are having a short, or to have some spiritual conversations with the students so that you are able to identify where they are. Okay, so the vision. So vision itself is what we see ourselves want to become. So it's the view of the future. So and then our mission, I wouldn't read about it in detail because we've done that already. And the mission is about how we achieve. What do we do to achieve what we want to achieve? Okay, so it's a different dimension. So vision is more about what we see, and then mission is how we make that happen. And then, so the journey, educational journey, is from belong, become, build, and bless. So this is the presentation we use in the classroom. So we will let the students know exactly about the journey that they're going through. Because if they know about their educational journey, they're more likely to understand what we do. And then they're more able to find the belonging of, firstly, they need to find their belonging, and then they become and build and bless. Okay, so now we come to this positive behavioral learning system. So Sky and Arco, I'm not sure whether you've experienced this in your school back in US, or positive behavior, yeah, PB4L. Okay, so probably not. Okay, so we are going to adopt this system. It's a whole school approach to developing positive behavior, strong character, and safe, respectful learning community. So that is the system we're going to adopt in here this year. And because Christian faith provides a foundation for our approach to character and behavior, and therefore we believe that our faith shapes our character, and our character shapes our behavior. And then backward, we could teach our students how to manage their behavior so that they're reflecting the character, and then strengthen their faith. Okay, so it acts both ways, either ways. So the philosophy is based on the biblical Bible verse that whatever you do, and do it all for the glory of God. And He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. So, and the values we design is also based on Bible as well. So the 4 values we've identified: respect, responsibility, resilience, and integrity. So, and all these are based on biblical references, and we're expected to be able to, I know that for some of us, maybe this is the first time we're having a value system and be required to teach values explicitly to our students. But gradually, I mean, we will be having some reviewer sessions, and just so that we are able to consolidate gradually. So this is a continuous cycle of discipleship that we firstly teach students, and we model ourselves as well. And then we practice actively with our students. And then we acknowledge the positive behaviors that they have demonstrated. And then we make corrections with in a respectful, using the manner that's demonstrating those values as well. And in the end, we're able to restore their behavior and also the relationships that's been broken. So it's a continuous cycles that we're working with the students. So here are some examples of behavior expectations. So in the chapel, the students are showing respect by entering and leaving the chapel quietly and respectfully, and participating respectfully in worship, prayer, singing, and other chapel activities. So they can demonstrating their responsibility by arriving at chapel on time and being seated promptly and following instructions from teachers, chapel leaders, and speakers. And they show their resilience by listening with an open mind, even when we hear ideas that challenge us to grow. And then accepting reminders and corrections positively and improving our behavior. And showing integrity by participating sincerely and respectfully in chapel activities, and honoring God, ourselves, and others through our words, attitudes, appearance, and actions. So here are just some examples. And today we will be based on those examples that it's with the help of AI generated. And then, but then there are some more contextualized scenarios that we want to incorporate. So you will be working as a group, and then to review each areas of your chosen area, and then write some comments, okay? So give me as a feedback, and then I'll be incorporating your contextualized ideas into the refined version, and eventually making a poster for each classroom and area on display. So which means that you will see this layout of poster in chapel, at canteen, in dormitory, and in our classrooms. So that's our holistic ideas based on what we want, what we see as important to teach our students. So in classroom, and this is some sets of ideas, for example, for resilience, keep trying when learning is difficult and learn from mistakes, accept feedback and use it to improve or encourage others when they face challenges. So usually for each area, we are trying to narrow down to maybe 6 to 8 different behaviors, not too much, because if we have too much of expectations, then we may compromise the integrity of achieving it, okay? So we're trying to make it be able to, that for you could be understanding, you can relate, and help the students to relate as well. So these are some examples, dormitory, canteen, but during your presentation with your students, you can go through one by one, okay, as some examples. Digital space. So digital space, I'm trying to make it simple because I only classify our area of learning into 6 areas, so that it's not too much. So digital space is a combination of our computer lab, because that's the only place that they would be using computers, as well as online space. Okay, it could be their social media or email correspondence with each other, or any. So it's just use digital space to covering both dimension of interactions that they may have. And for public space as well, it will be school playground, as well as excursion. So when they're going outside of the school, and especially if they are wearing a school uniform and being able to be identified as a Bambujaya students, and what's their behavior. So it's to build up their awareness of their presence, and then what type of model and behavior that's expected. So overall, that is this growth model is based on Ellen White's restoring the image of the students into the image of the creator. All right, so this is example a template, and this template is uploaded to our website. To our email account I've sent to staff as well, so you're able to download and use as you would be able to design and change the content if need be. Okay. Any questions so far about this template, the value template? Okay, so you can. It's not copy. It's not plagiarism that you're using this. Okay, it's designed for you to use in your classroom and in your teaching interactions, orientations. Okay, now we'll continue with our last training, how we are using those as a teacher, how we're using it, okay, and what teaching responsibility, how we incorporate in our teaching and learning interactions with the students. So I'll just quickly run through our last training. So this PB4L is being used by more than 27,000 US schools, and in Australia it's being used widely as well, particularly in Christian schools. So it's implemented worldwide to manage student behaviors. So in Australia, actually, a lot of public schools have started to incorporate this system into public school management in terms of behavior. And I'll just jump through a few. So this is a tiered approach, which means that if we are implementing well, just again, 80% of more students' behavior should be just working within our expected framework. That's our goal. And it's being evidently, as this is implemented in so many other schools, there's so many evidence shows that it works. Okay, it works so that majority of the students are able to learn the behavior expected from them and then be able to behave as you would expect them to behave, because they're constantly receiving acknowledgement and they've thought you're modeling the behavior, and then they're praised for that so that they're able to work within that framework. Whereas there could be some targeted tier 2 behaviors and therefore require some personal consultations with you together with and with some colleagues perhaps. And then the intensive mode will be the 1 to 5% of students. Mostly at our school, the pastoral team and the disciplinary team will be Teacher Phoebe and Pastor Wang and Mom Lee's, is that right? At the moment. And the deans as well, yes. So these are the intensive cases being managed. So it's overall a team approach that we're doing those, managing the behaviors. So it means that tier 1 is universal and tier 2 targeted, tier 3 intensive. Okay, so that we have some different attention levels. Okay. All right. So now so this is a journey, okay? Just a bit of in-depth understanding about the journey. So belonging is a purpose, finding their purpose, and then become is a character development, build is building up their capabilities, and then bless is for the calling of themselves so that they are able to find their calling. So that we're able to, thanks to AI, that we are able to visualize our philosophy into a picture so that we're able to, understand better and then help the students understand better as well. Okay, and this is our continual cycle. So now what's our role? Okay, we cannot assume character. Again, we need to teach explicitly. So do not assume that they would know what a value means. You need to explain it, especially for students from China. It wasn't part of the family education, unfortunately, and it wasn't part of the education that they would receive usually at school. So at school, people would usually teach in a fault-finding manner. Okay, they haven't been really receive positive praises about their behavior, and therefore when they are not aware and then just constantly may not be able to know how to behave normally. So it could be that some of the students, they may not have eye contact with you, and you could actually teach them. When you come into a classroom setting, I would expect you to have eye contact with me, and that shows you respect to me, and I want to have eye contact with you, and that shows respect to you, so that we can build connection. So even such small details, and you would see, and you would, educate in a building in a positive way. So then you teach explicitly and model consistently as well. So they just not learn from what we teach them, but also they would learn from what we do as well. So for instance, in a canteen, so that would be an area that we will actually, because it's outside of our classroom, but it's part of our community, and you would see a lot of those behaviors. There's so many rubbish just left on the table after dining, and yeah, so those type of behaviors shows a lack of responsibility and lack of awareness of others, and but to address that type of behavior, we'll need to model firstly ourselves. Each one of us will need to model. After you clean up your own utensils, clean up the sink as well. You're not leaving the sink in a very messy state that the next person are not able to even use it. So that's the type of model we firstly need to do, and then gradually we're able to help our students learning about managing their the community. Okay, not just having that sense of entitlement. Every one of us plays a part in maintaining the environment around us. And that,
Sorry, Mr.
Yeah.
I think like because the students have this mentality, because they have work, right? They have work education. They also have a different work assignments in the morning, and usually this is how their mind works. That if that's not my job, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. So that would be
Yeah. So this is going to break that barrier. You're not segmented into a time. You are constantly a children of God. Okay, and the environment we're having is not anyone else's responsibility, but you see it, you do it. So that's part we will need to, demonstrate that and gradually break that barrier as well. As long as you are able to. If you are using that resource, then manage it properly. So we'll practice actively as well, which means that requires active rehearsal, not just explanations, and then constantly demonstrating to a student as well. So even well, if you like, we could even have sessions. We'll monitor how the canteen area goes, but well, if needed, I will be taking my students to the canteen area and have a lesson there, and just to learn about how to maintain the order in the canteen space. I would do that. But yes, if we could think about it and monitor as we go. Yeah. 中文的那个有那个翻译器吗？你们有翻译器吗？翻得不准。好的，就是 OK，I'll do some Chinese as well, just as some. 所以我们就是要教学生要很具体的去教他一些行为，是希望是怎么做，然后用一个正向的方法去教导他们，然后同时我们自己也要用我们自己的行为去演示这样子的一些你对他人的要求。就比如说，你会希望学生进入这个 chapel 的时候是穿戴整洁的，但是你不能自己就是穿戴很不整洁的去参加敬拜。或者是在这个餐厅这个环境，就特别是餐厅食堂这个环境里面，可能很多的人的这个卫生习惯不是很好，会经常看到这个餐桌上有遗留很多的一些食物残余。所以在这个食堂的一个管理，可能就是不光是把饭做好端上来让大家吃，还有就是每一个人在使用这个餐厅环境之后，他有义务要把自己桌子上的这些残渣清掉，然后还有水池子洗完了之后要把水池理干净，然后这才算他的一个吃饭的一个行为就是结束了，而不是说是留下来就让别人去清理。这不是一个，就是说这是一个学校的大家共同的一个社区环境，而不是我们不要让他们建立起来一个我是一个客户的一个观念，就是说一旦那个观念形成了之后就很难去改变。所以我们自己每一个人也是这样，就是我们首先要自己做的事情要善始善终，有头有尾，对吧？你就是说不要是想的就是食堂是有员工什么什么就让他们做这些，就是我们要自己首先要具体的去教他，然后自己要做到，然后另外不断的在练习。然后我是会带我自己的学生，特别是因为他们是新学生，会去比如说像食堂这个地方专门去练习一遍这个流程是什么样子的，然后你吃完饭就是之后你是应该怎么整理，然后怎么去弄干净，这个流程是什么样子的。所以包括宿舍我觉得也是可以这样子做一些具体的一个流程给他演示一下。你洗完澡刷完牙，你应该要把你自己那些东西怎么清洁好，然后才算你的流程结束，而不是你自己弄完了就这样丢，然后下一个进来的人都没有办法再使用那个，因为这都是一个公共的空间。就是这样子的一些习惯都要显示出他的尊重他人，然后他的责任心，然后他的正直，然后还有他的这个坚韧程度。因为在家里是肯定不会，很多人不会有这个习惯是住在一个公共的一个区域的，但是既然来到了这样公共区，就要有这样的一个社会的公共性在里面。然后所以我们 so when we communicate with students, so we would teach expectations explicitly. When we see something, we don't just directly go into confrontation, say that don't do this, okay? That's not right. But we will teach expectations explicitly and use specific praise, correct calmly, and ask reflective questions, and allow students to redo the behavior and restore the relationships. So we're not assuming that they already know, and generic just a good job. So it's easy to say just a good job, but you would say very specifically praising what they've done to describe that you actually notice what they've done in details. And then avoid public humiliation. If it's something with a group, then probably it's a good idea just to take the students out, or can I have a word privately with you afterwards? And then and avoid lecturing for long periods, and simply just issuing repeated warnings. We're not at the moment we're not building this warning system, but then it's more verbally that you would have that addressing and not focusing only on punishment. So I speak in Chinese as well. 我们就是要教学生的时候就是具体的教他，然后用很具体的一些鼓励的方式，就是不是只是简单的说你这样做得很好，而是说你今天吃完饭了，你还记得把这个东西整理了，然后你这样子做是很负责任的一个表现。要很具体的跟他讲，那他就会知道他的行为，他做出好的行为的时候是看在别人的眼里的。其实在一定程度上他也在建立，这也是在帮助他建立一个信心的标志。因为如果他哪怕在我们人的眼底下，他做的事情都没有被我们看见，他怎么去相信神会看见他做的好事情，对不对？其实信心也是要靠我们这样子的一个人建立就是一点。但是我们也不能就是看到他做的不好的事情，比如说你这个东西怎么没有剪掉，对，就是有的时候不是说是因为当着很多的面去讲这个话，可能就不会让他反而是引起这个抵触的心理，所以不要这样做，也不要说是跟他讲很长时间，就没有必要就是说是要很长时间，其实就在平时的一点一滴里面去积累。
So when we have like a scenario when there's like a few students or one student that's distracting the rest of the class and everyone starts getting off track and we have to talk to that student one-to-one, what do we tell the rest of the class to do while we step aside and talk to that student? Do they do like a worksheet or something? Like what do they do so I'm not so I can still keep my eye on them while still talking to that
student. So several strategies. Yes, usually we do have our workbook so that you may ask the rest of the class. If you do feel the need that you need to address or speak to that student immediately in the class at that moment, then ask the rest of the class do some practice work because they have workbooks and then you're able to speak alone with the student, and or else if you feel it can be wait until during the break time, and you can wait until the break time and have a private conversation with that student. If the situation is really serious, then you'll probably need to call for help, and then post a message in our staff chat and ask someone who's available to come to you and then support you in that situation. Okay, so I think is that right, Teacher Phoebe?
And also like because the students if you talk to them in the classroom, some students will see that you are talking to that particular student. And after that, she will also feel embarrassed because all the other students know that you had a private talk to them. Meanwhile, they are doing something. So if it's not like usually when you give them a gentle reminder one time, they would just obey. But then if the behavior continues like for the whole class, after the class, then you just privately like, can you have a talk in the class? You just tell them without anybody noticing them that you're talking to them. They will actually like appreciate it.
And after that conversation, if they still do the same behavior, is that when they defer to you or?
Yeah, I think in that case, because this one is before because we don't have a student affairs, but I think now because our class is doing this job, so it will be referred to him.
Oh.
But if it's like unmanageable, then it's referred to us.
Yeah, so sometimes if you can see just some minor student misbehavior, and usually you could say, I can see a lot of students is doing really well and you are really focused on your task. Great job, you're doing well. So sometimes you could just praising the rest of the class will be as a kind of reminder to that particular student who's off track. So yeah, so still remain in a positive frame and then they'll be reminded instead of directly addressing that student. Great. Okay, so we go to this acknowledgement formula. So you name the behavior, name the value, and explain the impact and PB4L recognition. So you return, for example, instead of just saying good job, and you use specific recognition, you return the equipment after using it that shows responsibility because you are helping everyone use our shared resources. So 就是说这样一个具体的一个使用，就是说你先要确定。要说出来他的那种行为到底是什么行为，然后说出那个价值观是他代表了一个什么价值观，然后再解释说这个价值观和行为对这个造成的一些影响，然后之后就是一个对他的一个肯定。比如说你可以跟学生说你不是简单的就说你这样做的很好，谢谢你，就是这样子就是太简单了。你可以跟他讲的更具体一些，说你使用完了那个仪器，然后你又把它又还回来了，所以这样子显示就是你很好的就是体现了你的责任感。 然后呢，因为你在帮助别人，可以下一次可以使用我们的一些器材。对，你这样就是说把这个事情去具体的给他描述出来，这样能够也让他在内心有个更清楚的一个具象化的到底他什么方面是被称赞了。对，因为你总是在讲一个 good job 的时候呢 ，so what are the side effects? So we can have a brainstorm. Why you not? If you always say, if a student constantly receiving the comment just good job, good job. So what do you think the possible impact to that person and why we would ask you to do specific recognition and what's the difference?
It reinforces that. I mean, like it reinforces to them that specific behavior is very good and they can continue doing that. And then if it's just a generic praise, then they also get confused. Which thing do they do for good job?
Yeah.
Or maybe they will say everything I do is good.
Yes, it could be that well. Yes.
That's true. For our kids.
Yes. So some people can be really strong by doing serving others by showing their responsibility, but sometimes they're just doing it for the sake of receiving praise, and it may not be genuinely from their sense of resilience. So which means that if you give them some feedback on something that they're not doing well, maybe they're not able to receive it. So it will help them to learn that everyone have their strengths in different areas and weaknesses in different areas. To look at a person more holistically and more specifically rather than just good job. They can confuse, and that's a good feed for the ego. You know, it's a good feed. 就是说我们用那个就是讲这个具体的一个表扬的时候呢，就是让他去很具体的，就是事情对事情的一个表扬，不会说是你总是说你做的很好的时候，只是很简单，慢慢的他自己也很不清楚到底他哪里做得好，然后他就觉得他自己很好，然后他也不能把这些分清楚的时候。就反而就造成了他比较会更容易自大，而且他也不会很清楚的知道到底哪里做得好了。如果是具体的知道哪里做得好，他可以之后就会很重复这样子的一个行为，然后他也就很具体的能知道。所以我们就是要把它很细化，去具体化。好 ，OK. So, for example, this is an idea of, okay. So in the classroom setting, for example, someone was disruptive. So firstly, the teacher could describe the situation you interpreted while Sarah was speaking, and then connect to value which Bambujaya value applies here. And then step 3 is to teach what would respect look like. 尊重是, and then step 4 is redo. Let's try that again. And then step 5, acknowledge. Thank you, that demonstrates respect. Okay, so right, if you're constantly doing that in the classroom, it's not humiliating, it's teaching. Okay, because you're positively showing what is respect, and then teach students to change, modify their behavior to a respective manner, and then acknowledging that positive behavior. So that is not humiliating, that is to teach their values. 我拿中文讲一遍，就是说在去跟学生教导的时候，比如说他打断别人讲话了，然后呢你就直接去跟学生说，你刚才别人讲话的时候你打断他了，然后呢你觉得就是在这个情况下是一个什么样子的一个我们的价值观是可以体现在这里呢？然后是尊重是怎么在这里是能够体现出来呢？然后他就说可能说我没有意识到，那让我们就来再试一遍，你就是你再说一遍你怎么样做是可以体现出你是尊重他人的，然后他这样子再做了一遍之后，你再跟他说谢谢，这个就体现出来了你很尊重别人。OK， 所以就是这样子的一个沟通的一个过程，让他知道这个是体现了尊重他人。对，因为你必须要一点去具体的教他，他才能可能知道尊重他人是个什么样子的一种表现。对，你只有发现他的时候去跟他具体的去讲。对，然后同时你在讲的时候呢要很平静，你不要带着一些情绪因为就是然后也是要对他是有尊重的去跟他讲这个事情。有的时候你的态度会比你的讲什么更重要，就是一定是很平静的去跟他讲这个事情，你就是跳出来，你跟他就特别是可能对自己的孩子会更容易带情绪，但是一定要跳出这个关系里面。其实因为在神的面前，我们都是 sisters， 我们都是那个神的孩子，不再是说是你是妈妈或者爸爸，然后他是孩子，所以我们要把这个东西去平等化，当他感觉自己被平等对待的时候，他也更容易去改变这个行为。So that I was just addressing this to correct calmly, briefly, and respectfully, take out of that hierarchy of relationship, and in a manner that is respectful, so that when they feel respected, and it's more likely to be trigger the change of behavior. So the aim is to teach, not to embarrass. So, and embarrassment doesn't change the behavior, might be turning to the opposite direction. Okay, so then just to go a little bit more in detail, the language of the character is to correcting the behavior and not identity. So that's a reason we make it really narrative, descriptive into the behavior itself, but not labeling. Okay, that's the two to be distinguished. 就是说我们讲话的时候讲的是很具体的描述那个行为，而不是给它贴一个标签，就是它的一个标签给它。比如说 okay, instead of saying stop being disrespectful, saying that what would respect look like right now? And stop saying you are irresponsible and try to say what responsibility do you need to take for this situation? And instead of you are giving up again. And then try this, what could resilience look like here? And then instead of saying why did you lie? And try this, integrity means telling the truth, what actually happened. Okay, so 就是翻译一下，这讲话的时候不是说是跟他说哦你不要不尊重人，这样不尊重人了，然后而是要说在这个情况下尊重他人是应该怎么表现，都永远是就是尽量用正面的方法去引导他，然后是不要说是你这样不负责任，而是说那在这个情况下负责任应该是负责任的做法应该是怎样做的，然后不要说是你又放弃了，然后而是说你觉得怎么样能体现你坚韧的品质呢？对，你要是怎么能够去更好的去坚持把这个事情做完是什么样子的呢？然后不是说是你为什么会撒谎，因为他有没有答案，这个问题是没有答案的一个问题，你不觉得吗？这个更像是一个去把它钉到了十字架上的一个答案，而是说这个正直就是说是要告诉我们大家告诉我真相是什么，那你能告诉我你能正直的告诉我说到底发生了什么吗？对，就是要把那个具体的正确的那个品格把它讲出来，然后他就会知道我要去往那个品格的方向靠拢，对，然后他就是会正向的去引导他。因为你在讲出那个话的时候，你其实给他点了一盏灯，但是你如果说是讲出负面的话的时候，你其实灭了他一盏灯就是你要把那盏灯给他点出来，他才能顺着那个光的方向走，你如果不把那个光点出来，他很难，他也找不到方向。So that the positive words are like light to guide their way, because if you are using negative words, it means that it's darkened. They don't know what to do, like very confused, don't know. You need to show the light and then to give them the light by using positive words and framework. Okay, so the implementation is we prepare, that's what we're doing at the moment, and then we come to the teach stage, and then we practice, role plays, and then acknowledge. So just ideas. So at the moment, it's still idea about how to acknowledge, but we would encourage teachers when you see some really positive behavior, and you would verbally, firstly at this stage, verbally praise. Okay, after a week or two, after we've got all the students list, I will put a shared spreadsheet that we can enter in all the merits. Okay, so we actually have tangible merits that we can award students, and we're going to buy really nice notepad for each teacher. You can write a note. So when you write a note to acknowledge their positive behavior, very specific as well. So at canteen, I've seen you constantly clean up after you've done your eating, and you even helped other people to clean. That demonstrates Bambujaya value of responsibility, and then I would like to formally acknowledge your positive behavior and positive impact you bring to our community. You know, just write a positive note to them. And my daughter, because even nowadays, I still have in her school documents, there's so many small notes and cards made by her teacher to her to acknowledge each little things that she has done well. And those things that really means a lot for a student. And they might keep it for their life. You don't know, you know. And those are the things really important, and build up the connections with you in a very positive way. So then later on, because we're also going to have some leadership programs and school captain selection as well, and we're trying to create more opportunities for students to be able to be recognized and be awarded as well. So those will be our kind of framework and evidence for us to give them more opportunities in the future. So then they would respond with a positive in conversations with the procedures, and then term by term we have a review of what we do and how we do it, and what other area we need to improve. And then that's the roadmap of our implementation. 所以就是这个的实施的过程，就是我们现在是准备阶段，然后我们就是进入了学期开始我们就开始了教学工作，然后其实是每一个员工，不管是你在课堂里还是在这个宿舍里就是还是在 都是会遇到学生，那么都是要用这样子的一些方法，然后去来实践出来。然后之后我们也是会有很多的，因为每个员工都可以给学生有这样子的一个就是认可他的一个小纸条，就是我们现在先从这样小纸条，然后我们也会有一个这个和大家共享的一个就是一个那个 power， 就是一个文档，然后我们来记录他们的一个好的行为，这样子我们也可以知道谁在哪些方面做得很好，然后这样以后我们也是在给他做一些，比如说学校会给他一些更好的一些机会和任务的时候，或者说有一些 school captain、school vice captain，we're going to elect students for that， 就是学校的这种领导的，就是学生领导力的一些机会的时候，也可以以这个为基据来选拔学生，有这样更好的一个机会。然后之后我们实施完了之后，每个学期可以做一次 review， 就是做一次回顾，然后看一看哪些方面还做得比较好，有一些比较好的回馈，然后有哪些方面再有需要改进的地方。Okay, all right. So this is just idea for some restorative questions. If there needs to be a restorative meeting happen afterwards, so you can talk about what happened, what we were thinking or feeling at the time, what has been affected, and how have they been affected, and which Bambujaya values should guide you here, and what can you do to make things right? What will you do differently next time? So for serious incidents, this conversation should be handled by the appropriate member of the leadership or pastoral team rather than relying on an informal classroom conversation. So we're not doing those informally, but those restorative and reflective conversations could be happening in a more tiered approach, like tier 2 or tier 3. Maybe Arkel or teacher Phoebe will be having those type of conversations after some really serious incidents, if that happens. Okay, so overall, we would like to clarify that. So we would manage the behaviors: prompt, redirect, reteach, practice, and acknowledge. So we are being a very quick and calm adult role model and consistent correction when we have when we're in front of students. And this is not to replace the school's formal safeguarding system, and we're not using this to resolve serious issues. Okay, so this is 80%. So this covers 80% scenarios, but then the serious escalations, there could be violence, bullying, threats, theft, dangerous behavior could be, and then those would be immediately escalation to safeguarding and child protection and formal disciplinary procedures by the school board. Okay, 所以就是说我们的这个 PB4L 呢，它是一个就是我们的一个在一个正常的行为，在正常行为的区间内的一些行为的一些管理的方法，但是一些特别有大风险的一些特别严重的一些行为呢，还是要及时的，就是按照我们的这个汇报系统汇报给我们的这个学校的一个管理者，然后由他们来处理这样子的一些比较特别严重的一些问题。Okay, I think that's all the training and ideas. So the rationales behind the PB4L road print. And now we're going to have an activity. So we're going to work in pairs or groups. And in our shared folder, we have these values. Okay, you've got this document, and there is a section called posters. So in posters, there's already a draft for each area that we'll be doing: classroom, dormitory, canteen, chapel, digital space, and public space. So these are the different groups. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups. OK, 分成6组，每个组呢选择一个你要的这个你选择的一个区间，就是管理的一个区间。这里已经写了一些，我们的会放在一个 poster. So I'll show you the poster design. Okay, this is what we're going to do. This is a template, which means that after our activity, I'll just consolidate our feedbacks based on your groups, and then update this document, and then print out and then put in each area. Okay, this is what we're going to do. But this is really to have your input as well for each area, because a lot of you would have some experience here already, and then you would know about some specific scenarios. All right, so you're going to work in a group, and there's some texts and paper on your desk. So which area would you choose this group? The chapel? That'd be okay? Chapel? Classroom? Want to do dorm? You can form roughly three or two. 你们做这个食堂吗？食堂的，你们看一下。You want So who's doing public space and digital